You have asked a big question that calls for a lot of detail.
Okay.
So I'm going to try to not be as long-winded as I was on this first answer.
Okay. All right.
There is a book called Empire of Pain, written by a gentleman named Patrick Radden Keefe, and it is a history of the Sackler family, Purdue Pharma, OxyContin, from the time the Sackler family arrived in the United States through immigration in the 1920s, all the way up to the depositions taken of what would be the grandchildren of the original Sackler who arrived in 1920. Depositions taken in Louisville, Kentucky, ironically enough, sometime around 2013, 2014. Like many Americans, I am a fundamental optimist. I choose to believe the best rather than the worst. And if given the choice of ascribing something to well-intentioned but misapplied activity that's yielded a disaster or a nefarious premeditated plot to create destruction, I have always gone with the former rather than the latter. I presume good faith, even if that good faith does not yield a result that we would wish to have. I grew up, my formative years were in Reagan's America. And if y'all have any audience members who remember that time, it was one of tremendous optimism, tremendous hope, tremendous restoration from what had been the Vietnam War, the malaise of the 1970s. And it was just a wonderful, wonderful time to be an American. Lee Greenwood's song, I'm Proud to Be an American, was written in and around the Reagan presidency. One of the most difficult things that I have had to do intellectually is reconcile the country that I was raised to believe exists with the country that we have. And I don't mean that about our society. The American people and the society that we have are fabulous. We have the most dynamic and beautiful multicultural society that has ever existed in human history. We have governmental systems that have polluted this society with the damage that they have caused by the degree to which they have been compromised by a combination of incompetency and corruption for at least 30 years now. And what the book Empire of Pain makes clear is that the opioid epidemic as we know it is the gravest engineered humanitarian catastrophe that has ever been unleashed on a society, certainly on this one, since at least the end of the 19th century. When Purdue Pharma developed OxyContin, the next thing they developed was its marketing plan. And that marketing plan was founded upon a database that the company created when it made Valium. Purdue Pharma is the inventor of Valium. For your audience, that was a generalized anti-anxiety, antidepressant, make you feel good medication that I think was developed in the 50s, approved in the 60s, and then was really the first big blockbuster drug to hit American society. There's a Rolling Stones song with a lyric that refers to Mother's Little Helper. Well, it's referring to Valium. Purdue Pharma kept track of every single Valium prescription that was issued by every single doctor in the country. They were able to follow how many were being issued, what the milligrams were being issued, the duration of issuance, and they were able to map out the areas in which those prescriptions were most concentrated. It just so happened that Valium was most highly consumed in those areas of the country that had the highest rates of long-term poverty, the highest rates of long-term joblessness, and the highest rates of long-term disability. They overlapped perfectly. So when it came time to put OxyContin out in the country, they pulled out the Valium map, and they made sure that they sent their folks into those areas where the levels of spiritual pain because of those three material conditions were the highest. And they detonated it, knowing exactly that they were creating at least a subculture of lifetime consumers of this medication. That was the point of it. The Purdue Pharma entity that we know is one of the most malevolent corporate predators that has existed in American history. That is the context of this. Now, as the carnage and the damage started piling up and the deaths started piling up, the question became, how do we treat this? And the companies that fell in behind Purdue Pharma to create a lot of these high-powered opioid medications then fell in line to say, all right, we're going to also, we need to acknowledge what we've done here. It's terrible. All these, we've created medication with all these unintended side effects of addiction and death. We got to fix it. So the very people who created the problem then started about trying to fund through the FDA research about how you treat it. So the federal government spent $62.5 million through the National Institute of Health and some of its other agencies to create the baseline formulation of what is known generically as buprenorphine. Buprenorphine contains an opioid and an anti-opioid that are paired together. The objective of the opioid is to prevent the onset of withdrawal syndrome, while the anti-opioid is a blocker against any additional opioid consumption that a person may ingest to keep them from getting high. So you hold off the withdrawal by giving them the opioid component while keeping them from getting high with the anti-component. This is known by brand name of Suboxone, Sublocade, Subutex. They're manufactured by various companies who are in the opioid game.